Federation of Health Regulatory Colleges of Ontario's training about sexual abuse of patients. This module, Understanding and Managing Our Own Values, Beliefs, Feelings, and Response to Sexual Abuse. As you watch these modules, there are a number of factors to keep in mind. While all regulated health professions colleges are consistent as it relates to the Regulated Health Professions Act, called the RHPA, there are profession-specific differences, such as the use of the term patient. Some professions use the word client. Some regulations or profession-specific standards, such as the use of the term conduct unbecoming. The volume of complaints and discipline cases held each year. Some colleges might have only a few discipline cases, and some not any about sexual abuse of patients. Your college can clarify any issues that might arise in these educational modules. Whether you are a staff person interacting with someone who has either been sexually abused by a professional or with a professional who has sexually abused a patient, a committee member charged with the responsibility of determining whether allegations of sexual abuse are proven to be true, a policymaker involved in shaping your college's practices when it comes to educating staff or committee members, or as a manager or other staff member figuring out how to sensitively and effectively process sexual abuse allegations and support those affected by it, what you decide will be affected by your own values, beliefs, and feelings about sexual abuse. Most of the time, we operate without awareness of the values we hold, the feelings we have, and the beliefs about what is and isn't true. Our decisions and actions are never based on rationality alone, and our values, beliefs, and feelings impact on what we think, say, and do. Maximal objectivity is something we strive for in order to deal effectively with allegations of sexual abuse, because if we don't, those who have been sexually abused may be further harmed by us, alleged perpetrators may be treated unfairly, or we may actually undermine our ability to effectively prevent sexual abuse. Values, feelings, and beliefs will affect the way in which your college decides to deal with disclosures of sexual abuse. It will determine what kind of training you think is needed for staff and committee members, whether there are biases in play with respect to the truth or falsity of allegations, and what, if any, special considerations are made for those coming forward with allegations. Those interacting with those who have either alleged sexual abuse or alleged to have perpetrated it will be coming into the interactions with varying degrees of personal comfort, personal expectations about how people should or shouldn't be acting, and sensitivity or insensitivity to personal privacy and dignity. This will be detected by those they are talking to and may either facilitate openness and cooperation, or, at the other end of the spectrum, give the message that we can't or don't want to hear or talk about their experiences. An investigator's approach, for example, to an investigation will be impacted by his or her values, feelings, and beliefs. An investigation can be biased by assumptions based on values, feelings, and beliefs about the truthfulness of allegations made by and against people of different genders, ages, cultures, socioeconomic status, disability status, and information sought and collected may serve to support existing biases. The subtle and often undetectable values, feelings, and beliefs we hold will have an impact on individual cases we deal with. It will also affect whether they or others they share their experiences with will step forward in the future if they are sexually abused by a health professional. Your college, and possibly even colleges in general, may gain the reputation of a place or places that those alleging abuse may feel safe and respected, or worse, as an institution that may cause further trauma because of insensitive practices and unreasonable decisions based on unchecked values, feelings, and beliefs. Because values, feelings, or beliefs have a significant bearing on decision-making, becoming aware of them will help to examine and evaluate them. There are many different values held by different people about the same things. Much of the time, we adopt the values of the people we're associated with, whether it's family, peers, culture, faith groups, or ethnic groups. Sometimes, rather than adopting these values, for various reasons we may do the opposite and reject the values of those we associate with and define ourselves with our own values. The kinds of values people carry into situations involving sexual abuse may stem from beliefs that sex is shameful, something to be kept private and not to be spoken about openly, and that everything happens because of divine providence and should be accepted. Others may even believe that there are rules that others are required to adhere to, but they are above them. Beliefs are the ideas that we've developed generally because of what we've been taught or have otherwise learned. We may have learned them in school, in courses we've taken, on TV or in the movies, through the internet or any of the other places we gain our information. Depending on who is promulgating the ideas, our feelings and beliefs may be shaped differently, and this will affect our decisions and actions. Some of the information may be reliable, and some may be unreliable. We have to consciously consider whether to adopt or reject it. For example, some of the rape culture that popular media and even some political officials promote could be accepted as fact if we do not critically appraise the source and reliability of the information. Our feelings and beliefs may also be shaped by our own experiences, either as someone who has been forced or coerced into participating in a sexual activity or knowing that someone we care about has been. The same can be said if we have participated in coercing or forcing someone into participating in a sexual activity, or if someone we care about has. Not identifying and considering our beliefs can make the difference between being objective and rational when faced with allegations that a client or patient has been abused, or, on the other side, result in rationalization or minimization of the seriousness of the behavior, or perhaps even see abuse where it may not have actually occurred. Some unsupported beliefs. These are some of the many different beliefs some may hold about sexual abuse. Some of these beliefs may be strongly held but not based on any evidence, and they discount the complexity of such experiences. Strong, competent patients won't let themselves be sexually abused. Because of the stigma, any man who alleges being sexually abused must be telling the truth. They wouldn't put themselves through that otherwise. Strong and competent individuals may still be vulnerable in a relationship with a large power imbalance. Even if not coerced, patients may engage in sexual relationships with a health professional because of complex motivations. Sexual relationships in which there is a power imbalance carry a high risk of trauma. If aroused, it means there was no abuse. No harm is there if a person agrees to, initiates, or enjoys sexual activity with a health professional. Any human would succumb to enough temptation. Responsibility for sexual activity diminishes with use of drugs or alcohol. The human body is comprised of nerve endings which are programmed to make us feel certain ways when they are activated, and those who have been sexually assaulted can have very complex feelings, including guilt and shame because of how their bodies have reacted. The healthcare provider must be alert to becoming attracted to clients and take steps to ensure that he or she does not act on this attraction. A patient can always say no when there's no violence or apparent coercion. Healthcare providers don't need to use violence or overt coercion to gain compliance of a patient. They hold tremendous power in terms of access to services and possession of highly personal information that puts patients in a highly vulnerable position if they are not compliant with the healthcare provider. Someone appearing anxious is more likely to be telling the truth. Someone appearing anxious is less likely to be telling the truth. Someone not showing any emotion is more likely to be telling the truth. Someone not showing any emotion is less likely to be telling the truth. Different people act in different ways. For some people, demonstrating anxiety or other emotions makes them feel more, not less vulnerable. Others present in ways which are misleading, either because they are intended to be or because of emotional disorders. Just as everyone has values and beliefs, many of which are subconscious, everyone has feelings. We may not always be aware of our feelings. Having feelings about sexual abuse can be helpful. They may inspire compassion for the parties who have been harmed, lead us to a dedication to public protection and prevention of similar occurrences in the future. In other cases, they may do the opposite. College committee members and staff who are involved in sexual abuse matters may be exposed to graphic and disturbing details of sexual abuse allegations as well as to the intense emotional reactions of those who have alleged abuse and those who have been accused of committing it. Listening, reading, or thinking about the information can elicit anger, disgust, sadness, and even arousal. This can be intensified when empathizing with the person who is alleging or even denying the abuse. In some cases, exposure to this material can cause a person to recall a personal experience with abuse. It is common to want to avoid difficult feelings, and sometimes the way we do this is by not listening or attending to them. Without consciously meaning to, we can send verbal and non-verbal messages that we don't want to hear what someone is telling us. Not attending to information can cause us to misunderstand the situation and can also lead us away from important information. For example, we may not attend to information that might be probative or prove that abuse occurred. Avoidance of difficult feelings could also lead to inattention to exculpatory information or information that could establish that abuse did not occur. All of this could result in further trauma to someone who has been abused and had summoned the courage to come forward but gets a message that you do not wish to hear from them. It could also lead to unfair actions by a college. Staff or committee members may experience their feelings as a call to action. Instead of being either an objective fact finder or rational decision maker, without realizing it, they may believe that their role is to save or heal the person who has alleged abuse, to challenge or test them, or to punish them if they believe, without proof, that a person has perpetrated alleged abuse. Beyond the effect of one's own feelings in a specific case, involvement with those who have experienced or perpetrated sexual abuse can compromise personal well-being and overall effectiveness, especially when personal resources or external supports are insufficient to tolerate or cope with intense, emotionally troubling information. Examples of the range of possible effects on well-being include symptoms of many things associated with what some would call burnout or compassion fatigue. These include prolonged exhaustion, disengagement from a role, avoidance, numbing, and or despair or hopelessness. It can also lead to intense and or overwhelming distress, which could lead to other far-reaching problems including inability to control emotion, irritability, depression, physical symptoms including headaches, stomach pains, diarrhea, chest pains, nightmares and sleep disturbances, and or flashbacks to personal experiences associated with sexual abuse. The acquisition of credible information and self-awareness will help to counteract some of the inaccurate or baseless information that we have. Self-examination may help you to discover what thoughts and feelings may be at work within yourself that you might not even be aware of yet. Here are some questions you could ask. How would my family, friends, and community react to the information I am getting? How does that affect my reaction? Was I too quick to form an opinion about the case? How uncomfortable am I discussing the case? Have I tried to avoid attending to this case? Do I think a lot about a case when not engaged in my role? Does the alleged victim or perpetrator share similarities with me or someone I care about? Does the alleged victim or perpetrator seem very different from me or someone I care about? The goal in asking yourself these questions is simply to remain aware of how the information affects you and take this into consideration when you're making decisions or taking action in your role at the college. It may sound cliché, but it's important to protect yourself against the effects of distress, not only for your own welfare, but to ensure that you play your role effectively and objectively at the college. It's important to maintain good self-care. This could include exercise or recreation, social, familial, or cultural engagements, or things that bring about stability, calmness, and inner peace, like meditation, yoga, or relaxation training. Obtain mental health support when difficulties are persistent. This is not the time to be affected by any stigma attached to obtaining professional support, counseling, or psychotherapy. Recognizing that participating in sexual abuse response and prevention can pose challenges both to role fulfillment and personal well-being, it is important to set appropriate policies and take close care to become aware of the effects of this kind of work on staff and committee members. It would be appropriate to provide support to individuals you are supervising or assisting and actively promote a positive peer environment where support can naturally occur. Bringing issues out of the shadows at staff meetings and committee trainings is also helpful. When people are doing this kind of work, it is particularly important that they have a balanced and reasonable workload, they take vacations and break times, and they don't take this kind of work home with them. It is particularly important that people be given the opportunity to gain credible, accurate, and evidence-based information in order to combat pervasive myths about sexual abuse, so high-quality training is also key. When individuals participating in the system do experience some of the more serious adverse effects, it is important to support them in obtaining appropriate professional help and to ensure that getting help is not stigmatized. Being aware and being prepared to understand and manage your own values, beliefs, feelings, and response to sexual abuse is a key aspect of your personal effectiveness in regulatory college work.